August 2017 RFD updates. In this video I'll go over how to update your SD card for the Raspberry Pi on the RFD payload. These instructions are for if you do not have an internet connection on the Pi, in which the Pi can be kind of tricky to get on a network, especially on some of the universities and colleges with the bigger networks. Are a little harder to get it configured properly. So this video will basically be reflashing the SD card. You do not need an internet connection for the Pi with this, but you will need a monitor and a keyboard. If you have not done the June updates, you can just go ahead and start with these August updates. You do not need to do the June update in order to do the August update. So most of the information can be found at eclipse.montana.edu on the Eclipse ballooning page under Team Resources and System Resources. And in here, I think this is just a typo. I think this should be this should be August instead of July. All the August 3rd updates will be in here. I'm making this video before all these links have been updated and before the updates, but by August 3rd, all these links should have the video, the instructions, and the image to flash your SD card with. Now in the June updates under RFD Payload Pi update, there are some instructions on here flashing SD card with the new RFD ISO. These instructions can also be followed. These are the same steps I'm going to be doing right now in this video. But if you want a PDF, you can find it here. This is the same information that is also found in the documentation from the July 2016 workshop. There's some other notes in here on using the Pi as a computer. This will show you how to use the keyboard and monitor with the Raspberry Pi. So for right now, we need to be on your ground station computer or any computer that has the SD formatter and the Win32 disk imager. Both of these programs were installed on the computers provided at the July workshop. If you do not have these, you can Google around and find them and install them. You will also need the image file, the RFD August 2017 image file, which can be found here on this page once these links are updated and the updates are released. Once you have these three things, you are ready to get started. The SD card that you are using, go ahead and put it in your card reader on the computer. And we want to take note of which drive letter this is. Mine is K. Yours will likely be a different number, or a different letter. Keep track of what this drive letter is. Once you have your SD card in there, we're going to go ahead and format it. So if there's any information on that SD card that you want to keep, make sure you get it off of there before you format it. You will lose all data on the SD card. Go ahead and open up the SD formatter program and make sure that this drive letter is the proper drive letter. So mine was K, so I'll make sure this is K. Make sure this is the drive that your SD card has been labeled. You don't have to. You can do a quick format type. You don't have to do a full erase. I'm going to do the full erase and format. This might take some time depending on your computer and the SD card reader. And that's it with the SD formatter. That SD card is now formatted and ready to flash with our new image. So now you can open up the Win32 disk imager. And in here under device, make sure this is K. Make sure this is the drive letter for your SD card. And right now my image file is on the desktop. Just remember, wherever you download this from, when you download this image from the Eclipse webpage, just take note of where you downloaded that to, and you're going to browse to that location. So in our little file browser here, since mine is on the desktop, I'm going to go to desktop and find my August 2017 disk image file. So make sure we got the August 2017 image file. Drive letter is K. We want to do write. We're going to write the data image file to the device. If you do read, you're going to copy what's on the SD card to this image file. We don't want to do that. You'll end up erasing that. Make sure this is your SD card, or else you're going to corrupt whatever you try sticking the data to. Once you have these two options selected, I'm going to go ahead and click write. This one here too will take some time. We are writing an 8 gig image to the SD card. So I will pause the video and come back to this as soon as it's ready. Okay, my image is almost done being written to the SD card. And when it is done, you should get this write successful message. Let's go ahead and say OK. And you can go ahead and close the disk imager program. Now your new August 2017 image is now written to the SD card. There's just a couple of minor changes that we got to make to the SD card in order for it to be ready to fly for Eclipse Day. Again, these same instructions can be found in the PDF found on the Eclipse ballooning page. This flashing the SD card goes over flashing the SD card and making the minor changes that I'm going to go over now. So now you can go ahead and put your SD card into the Raspberry Pi, hook it up to a monitor and a keyboard, and power up the Raspberry Pi. Now I'm going to do it over SSH and PuTTY on this computer so that my screen capture can grab what I'm doing on the Raspberry Pi. So I will be doing this in a PuTTY terminal, but your screen and everything on the Raspberry Pi will be exactly as I show you here. Okay, so once you have your Pi connected to a monitor and a keyboard and powered up, go ahead and log in with the username as Pi, password Raspberry, all lowercase. And we're going to change directory into etc network. Do it ls, and this interfaces.rfd is the interfaces file that you want to use when you're using the ad hoc network. So we want to edit this by typing sudo nano interfaces.rfd, and inside here you're going to go down to your SSID name. Now here I have May001. You want to change this SSID name to the same name that you've been using with your ad hoc network. This is the same name that was set up on your Windows 10 computer provided at the workshop. The Windows 10 will have to be set up to recognize that SSID name. So this has to be the same name that was set up on the Windows 10 machine. If you're at the July workshop, this will be your registration number, which will be something like 3 numbers followed by a J, like 066J or whatever. You want to make sure you edit this to whatever your SSID name is here. So once you put your SSID name in there, hit Control-O to save, Enter, and Control-X to exit. So now that interfaces.rfd folder or file is set up to be used with your RFD payload and have the right SSID name for the ad hoc network. So now we want to copy this file into interfaces. So do sudo cp for copy. Interfaces.rfd is our source and our destination is interfaces. So we're copying this file into this file. And to double check, we can do a cat interfaces, and this has the right information in there for your ad hoc. Now this will not take an effect until you reboot the Pi or start the Pi again. And that's all we need to do in the network file. So now, just to kind of show you some of the changes that were made, and just to double check things are set up properly, is the cron tab. So sudo cron tab -e. So now inside here we want to make sure this first line is uncommented. There's no hashtag in front of this line. So at reboot, it's going to start this program. Still images and command relay USB radio.py. This is a Python program that we want to run when the Raspberry Pi starts. So in this image, all this is set up for you. I'm just noting this. This is just a place to look to make sure you got everything set up right before you fly. And these are just some of the small changes we made with this update. The June update had the same line in there. But if you did not do the June update, your cron tab will look differently than this. So by doing the August update, which you're doing right now, all this will be set up and ready to go. Hit Control X to exit. And then if we go inside the RFD Payload folder, this is the Python program, still images and command relay USB radio. This is the program that we just referenced inside the cron tab. And then one last thing you do not want to forget to do is expand the file system. Right now, more than likely, you're using a 64 gigabyte SD card on the Raspberry Pi, and the image we just copied over to it is 8 gigs. So it's really only using 8 gigs of your 64 gig SD card. So to expand the file system, we want to go into the raspi config utility. So we just sudo raspi config. And the very first option is expand file system. Hit enter. So now the next time we reboot, it will be resized. Hit tab, get to finish. And at this point you could say yes to reboot and you're all ready to go. But for me to continue with the video, I'm just going to go say no. And pretty much at this point you have reflashed your SD card. You've made the changes to the interfaces file to reflect the proper SSID name, and you copied the RFD, the interfaces.rfd file into the interfaces file. And that's pretty much it. You are ready with all of your August updates. One thing to note too is this new program, the still images and command relay. This program will only work with the new antenna tracker. This is the RFD program on the ground station that's integrated into the antenna tracker. This program will not work with the old standalone RFD program on the ground station. This can only be used with the new antenna tracker program. So then to properly shut down, we do sudo shutdown-h now. Hit enter and your Pi should shut off and your SD card and Pi are ready to fly. So happy flying, and we are counting down closer and closer to the eclipse. I look forward to all the great pictures and videos we'll be grabbing during the eclipse. Good luck.